We have some time for clarifications. Ms. Tin Pei Ling.
Thank you, Ministers, for the answers. I have 3 clarifications. First one, I would like to ask, what are the types of harms to children will the new Code of Practice be addressing? Second, will views from parents and the community be sought so that the types of harms that the children are exposed to can also be addressed in the new code? And the third one is whether an update on girls and women in tech, their progress, their representation from schools, within the industry, even within the IMDA programs. Can there be an update? How have we progressed and how have we fared so far? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I thank Ms. Tin for her 3 questions. I will take the first 2 questions, not because the third one is unimportant, it's very close to my heart. But today, for the purposes of the Committee of Supply debate, we'd like to discuss, the question of women in tech, together with how we are developing tech talent in general. So MOS Kiat How will address that. On the question of what kinds of harms we are seeking to include in the codes, our aim is to ensure that our children can enjoy physical safety and emotional well-being. And so the question is online, what harms them? Or what could lead to them to be harmed physically and emotionally? And parents have told us it is cyberbullying, sexual harassment, sexual grooming, and exposure to inappropriate content. And there are 3 main categories: sex, violence, and self-harm or other dangerous acts. Now, these harms are quite universal. Parents all around the world will agree that they do not wish their children to be exposed to them. And so I think they could be, and they should be, included in the codes that we are planning. But there are also differences that depend on societal norms and as well family norms. For example, below what age are certain types of content considered to be inappropriate? This would vary. And then there is, for example, the question of drug use. Some societies will find this more acceptable than others, and we will have to cater to that. Now, because of these differences in particular, I see great value in us involving parents as well as the broader community in developing and designing the codes in the first instance, and in future in updating the codes so that they stay relevant. MCI has some experience in dealing with this, and we can take broadly the same approach that we take with other advisory councils that we have consulted on a regular basis for films, for publications. At the same time, we will continue to provide support to parents to help them protect their children online. And this would be through the programs that the Media Literacy Council as well as the NLB put forward. And these were described by Pausek Rahayu earlier. Thank you.
Mr. Shahril Taha, or MOS Tan first.
Yes, apologies.
Mr. Chairman, I thank Ms. Tin for a very important question asking about women and girls in the tech sector. Just to share some statistics and some updates. Close to 4 in 10 of our students in our IDT courses, which I mentioned earlier in our IHLs, are female, so 4 in 10. And according to a BCG study, a similar proportion of our tech professionals are women. This is well above the global average, and we are very proud of it. The Women in Tech and the Girls in Tech movement, which was mentioned by Ms. Tim Pei-Ling, was started and driven by IMDA in 2019, and is supported by community and, importantly, our industry partners. And over the last few years, they have made very good progress in terms of raising the awareness that diversity and inclusion are better for business. They have done many programs to raise awareness and try and develop more girls and women in technology, and establish Singapore as a global leader in creating a supportive environment for women in tech. Just share some statistics with Ms. Tin. Since its launch in October 2019, the program has reached out to more than 120,000 people through its initiatives and connecting over 115,000 girls in schools with female tech leaders through a series of student-asked videos. It brought together over 600 women in the tech workforce for networking and mentoring events, and having received over 1,400 nominations for the SG 100 Women in Tech list in 2020 and 2021, they've identified the leaders, women leaders in our technology space. They are role models and mentors. And to a point that Ms. Tin asked earlier in the cut, which I didn't manage to fully reply, just to provide an update on the Mentor Connect, which is a cross-company mentorship program in which the women professionals and leaders in those companies mentor students and those other girls and women who are interested in a career in technology. In fact, they have done well and reached out to many more schools, and many more companies are coming on board. And I encourage women tech leaders and companies to join us in this effort. Thank you.
Mr. Shahril Taha.
Chairman, thank you, Minister Teo, SMS Janil, MOS Tan, and Palsec Rahayu. So AI is an area with great transformative potential, fundamentally changing how our economy and society function, including jobs. What are the government's plans to enable businesses and individuals to tap on the opportunities brought about by AI? And as AI deployment becomes more pervasive, how will the government ensure responsible deployment of AI without stifling innovation? Thank you.
Minister Josephine Teo.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Shahril Taha has asked a really important question on artificial intelligence, and a topic of this nature, we can actually have a full seminar on it, and we wouldn't run out of things to talk about. But in the time that we have, perhaps let me just share with him some of the thinking that we have in the government. The government recognizes the rich potential of emerging technologies like artificial intelligence to generate economic gains, as well as to improve the lives of our people. And this is why, in 2019, we launched the National AI Strategy and articulated the vision for Singapore to be a leader in developing and deploying scalable, impactful AI solutions in key sectors that are of high value and relevance to our businesses and our people. So this vision was articulated. Under the Prime Minister's Office, the National Artificial Intelligence Office, the NAIO, launched an initial tranche of 5 national AI programs. And this covered the areas of logistics, smart estates, education, healthcare, and border control. And in November last year, Deputy Prime Minister added 2 more. These are the national AI programs for government and for the finance sector. How have we done thus far? And here I want to caveat, we're not just talking about efforts in the last 3 years. We would be talking about efforts that preceded that. In terms of research capabilities, we are making headway. According to the field-weighted citations impact, if we base it on field-weighted citations impact, it is an indicator that is commonly used to assess research capabilities. Singapore is actually first in the world, ranks number 1. And if we look at the kind of research collaborations that tech companies have with our institutes of higher learning, as well as the corporate labs that they have set up together, this attests to our research capabilities. But in terms of the deployment into industries and businesses, I would say that it is quite uneven. In sectors like in the financial services sector, for example, and also I should add, there can be different types of AI being put to use. In the financial services sector, for example, machine learning is quite common today. You would find it, particularly amongst the fintech companies. In the transport sector, we are beginning to see more and more deployment of autonomous systems. Of course, some using computer vision technologies. So that is another area. And I would say that within each sector, it is also, the beauty of it is that it is not always the case. In fact, it is often not the case that the bigger companies are better at it. New entrants are frequently more likely to experiment with new solutions provided by AI, and because they are likely to be unencumbered by legacy systems and business processes. Mr. Sharul Taha had a second part of his question which is very important. And that has got to do with the governance of it. It's a big topic, but I should say that IMDA not just has programs to promote AI adoption, it also seeks to ensure that AI is used in Singapore with a degree of security as well as accountability. And how are we seeking to do so? In quick summary, through quite early on, in fact, probably being one of the earliest countries to put out a model AI governance framework, which has since been contextualized for different sectors in order to bring out the principles and practices and translate them into real actionable items in the sector. We are also developing an AI governance testing framework and a corresponding testing toolkit to help AI systems owners and developers become more transparent about how their AI works. So I would say that we are making all of these efforts in the hope that truly our businesses and our people can benefit from the rich potential of AI.
Our guillotine time is 3:55. I think we have time for 2 or 3 more clarifications. So I'll call on Ms. Jessica Tan first, and then Mr. Leong Man Wai. And if there's any further clarification, and we have time, then a third clarification. Ms. Jessica Tan.
I thank MOS and for sharing about the formal programs for which to develop talent and tech talent, and also to bring institutions as well as companies together. What I did suggest in my cut as well was, and I did appeal, was also to MCI and the other related agencies to look at communities of learning and communities of practice of tech talent coming together. I mean, you can say that they can come together today on their own, but I think that if MCI can play a key role in facilitating that and supporting those, it would allow for a lot of learning amongst a very rich base of tech talent and digital talent that already exists in Singapore. And I hope that I can get some response to that. Thank you.
MOS Tan.
Mr. Chairman, I thank Ms. Jessica Tan for her suggestion and idea. Behind the suggestion was really about having tech talent, basically tech professionals coming together to share best practices, update each other on technological advances in this space, especially in this digital space, which is evolving so quickly. New threats appear every day, cybersecurity, data breaches, as well as new practices in terms of how we apply technology. The kind of technical advances and innovations is coming out from all over the world as well as Singapore. And in the spirit of that, I think that is something that we'll consider and look at. More importantly, I think it's working together with our industry associations, both the ICT Company Industries Association, SG Tech, as well as the Tech Professionals Association, Singapore Computer Society or SCS. Because today we already work together with them to mount many training and upskilling courses for tech professionals, bring tech professionals together to discuss issues. For example, is Web 3.0 reality or hype? Whether NFT is something that will be a mainstream, cryptocurrency, what's the future, how we're thinking about cyber attacks and cyber protection. These are topics and issues that we work very closely with our industry partners, our industry association partners, SG Tech, SCS, on many of these causes. So certainly we will take Ms. Jessica Tan's suggestion and continue to expand on these areas. Thank you.
Mr. Leong Man Wai.
Chairman, I have two clarifications for the Minister. But before that, I would like to clarify that I did not say SPH is a government-owned company. I say SPH Media Trust. So I hope the Minister will acknowledge that. So my first question is, while SPH is not a government-owned company, but the government has considerable influence over SPH, the listed company, over the years. And SPH has accumulated huge amount of property assets from the profits generated from the near monopoly print business in the past. So the decision that the government has made means that the government is okay to allow the shareholders to take away all the assets and leave behind a $900 million baby for the taxpayer to burden. That's the first point. Second question is, second clarification is, when Minister Iswaran presented this deal or this structure in the Parliament some time ago, he also said that SPH Media Trust is going to have private donors. So may I ask the Minister, what is the progress in getting these private donors to also fund SPH Media Trust? Are the shareholders of the current shareholders and the future shareholders of SPH, the listed company, that is in a position to enjoy huge windfall profits, going to be some of those donors that will help us out in the funding of SPH Media Trust? Thank you.
Minister Josephine Teo.
Mr. Speaker, what Mr. Leong said or did not say is a matter of parliamentary record. I don't think we need to speculate. A quick check would, confirm whether he said it was SPH or whether it was SPH Media. And if I heard wrongly, I apologize to him. But in any case, his questions are quite strange because if he insists that the SPH Media Trust is government-owned, why would funding even be an issue? It's not something that we would have to come to Parliament and explain to members about. It would be part of how other arms of the government are funded. And you would basically plan for it within the ministry's block budget and be done with it. But the fact that we are here explaining to members the need to provide public funding to SPH Media Trust is precisely because it is not government-owned. It is a company limited by guarantee. Company limited by guarantee, CLG. The government does not own this company limited by guarantee, and it did not own SPH, the listed entity. And so the decisions of the SPH as a listed entity must depend on its board and must ultimately depend on its shareholders. So Mr. Leong suggests, or he seems to think, that it was an option for the media business to continue as part of the listed entity. And I think the evidence speaks for itself. We have explained on several occasions by now, in May 2021, in February this year, and indeed just an hour or so ago, why the economics of the media business has changed so much that it is no longer tenable for them to remain in the previous structure, part of a listed entity with other businesses, because the investments that are going to be needed for the media part of the business to transform are going to be quite involved. And the listed entity could not have invested the same kind of resources to keep it a viable, trusted institution that it is today. And so we have basically two choices to make. If I could seek members' indulgence to articulate them again. One choice is to take our chances, accept that this media business existing within a listed entity, it could decline, and we live with the consequences. Alternatively, we mount a serious effort, do everything we can to help it to transform so that SPH Media Trust can remain the trusted institution serving the public good. And if we say it is the latter, if we reject the former and we say it is the latter, then we have to just look at the kind of investments that are being made elsewhere in the world, because we are not the only country in the world where the media business has been disrupted. And the funding that we're talking about, I recognize, is not a small amount, and that's why there has been full accountability to Parliament. But it's just in the ballpark that we see elsewhere in the world. These are not figures that are out of whack when we look at other countries' investments or the kind of media businesses having to make the investments. So it would appear to me that the fundamental difference is that Mr. Leong or the PSP simply does not value our local mainstream media as much as the government, because it's up to $180 million a year to support trusted local media, an excessive amount given the size of our economy, for our people and our businesses to be able to see the world through our own unique lens, for our voice to be projected without impediment, for our cultures and our traditions to be expressed in the way we want it to be expressed. So I hope I'm wrong, but if Mr. Leong or the PSP does not agree with supporting our local media, then I would really urge him to reconsider their position, whether it is wise for Singapore to do so. I would just stop right there. Thank you.
Ms. Hani So.
Thank you, Chairman. I have a clarifications in relation to the library. Currently, the National Library Board has an app titled Libby, which enables users to locate and borrow books and e-materials. I just want to clarify or inquire whether the app can be further improved with more interactive and user-friendly features. For example, NLB can consider working with relevant agencies like Families for Life or NEA to create special thematic filters. So to recommend the categories of the readers can be further segregated to wider groups, to recommend books to suit different stages in life. For example, expecting mothers and children of different age groups.
Ms. Rahayu Mahzam.
Thank you, Member, for the clarification question. Indeed, this is a very meaningful suggestion. The libraries are actually already working with various partners because this effort of actually curating and encouraging and picking people's interests are something that we need to tap on the community to really provide that whole array and buffet of interesting content for library goers. So that is already something that's being done in as far as the technology is concerned. We've been working with different partners to develop and use the different platforms for different demographics. We are also working with people in the community to create learning communities within the library. So your suggestion is definitely something that can be taken in and something that we can consider. But I'd like to also just make a pitch for you, if you haven't already, to go to the showcase and explore what are some of the other opportunities we can work with partners on this. Thank you.
Ms. Mariam Jafar. I think if you can make that clarification a quick one, because I just saw Mr. Singh's hand go up. So if we have time, I'll give the time to Mr. Singh.
Quick clarification, because I did not hear much about SME reskilling, to make sure they have the opportunities too. Thank you.
MOS Tan.
Thank you, Chairman. Ms. Jaffa asked about helping our SMEs reskill their staff and workforce in terms of digital skills when they transform digitally. Indeed, this is an important area. If members recall, last year, December, I believe, if I recall correctly, Skills Future Singapore came up with a future of skills for the digital economy. And the number one skill that's in demand in the digital economy is really around technological technological application. How to apply the skills to use the technological tool that the SME or the firm has put in place in its organization. Having a tool is important, but to be able to use it effectively to achieve business outcomes is something that is really a big, important ROI that the SMEs need to think about. In this regard, we have worked together with our other agencies on a few areas. First, as part of our SMEs Go Digital, our industry digital plans, which I spoke about earlier, they are designed to account for these skills needs in the digital plan. Because the skills needs for different tools apply in different sectors, and different firms at different levels of digital maturity will vary. And this skills plan and training roadmap will have to be customized for that archetype of firms. And that will be as part of the industry digital plans. So when SMEs go through a process, develop a digital plans, implement them, select the tools, select the solutions, there is a corresponding set of skills training that they can consider sending their employees to. And it's linked up with the different skills framework, if available, across the different sectors. And looking ahead, we will continue to expand the continual education training or CET training efforts with other IHLs to provide training for smaller firms across the economy, as smaller firms or SMEs may face resource constraint in sending their employees for some of these skills training. And this will be coordinated under our overall effort under SMEs Go Digital. We are also working together very closely with our counterpart, our Skills Future Singapore, SSG, in thinking about how to meet the skills gaps in the digital economy, aligned with the Skills Future report that came up around digital economy. We work together with our Tech Sector Industry Association, SG Tech, and Tech Professional Association, Singapore Computer Society, SCS, which I mentioned earlier, so that together, alongside their industry counterparts, SCS, SG Tech, with their counterparts in other sectors, industry associations, to work with them to identify and promote suitable digital upskilling opportunities for each sector. So as Ms. Janet Ang suggested yesterday, we are adopting an industry supporting industry approach, industry training industry approach, with TACs playing an important role. So let's assure Ms. Jaafar that is something that we are working on, and more details will be shared at the MOE's COS.
Final clarification, Mr. Pritam Singh.
Mr. Deputy Chair, just a point of clarification. I understand from the notice paper B003 of 2022, the revised guillotine time for today is listed as 4:15 and not 3:55.
It was revised to 3:55 p.m. as I have been advised by the clerks.
I understand. I just went out of the chamber, took about 5 minutes, 10 minutes ago to check, and it's still listed as 4:15, but I note Deputy Chair's point. Let me just put my question.
This is a result of the tea break, which has not been factored in. So the cutoff is 3:55.
I see.
It would have been what you had suggested if I had taken a tea break before. Are you suggesting you want a tea break now?
Well, if it means we have 20 more minutes, I'll take the tea break now. I'm sure that's not good.
Or would you rather the final clarification?
I don't think that's much of a choice, Mr. Deputy Chair. So
then
either
please
way,
go ahead.
Either way, it doesn't extend our time. So I'll just put my question.
Please.
Thank you first to Minister for clarifying the question. I seek some clarity on the question on SPH Media Trust. When Minister Iswaran spoke of this arrangement because of the changing nature of the media landscape, Minister said that SPH will first form a new subsidiary and transfer the media-related businesses, properties, and some cash and SPS shares and REIT units to the subsidiary. And then subsequently, if the shareholders give their approval, the subsidiary will be transferred to the CLG. I think the substance of what Mr. Leong is getting at is about the privatization of profits and the socialization of costs to the taxpayer. So my question or clarification is, when SPH's proposal was considered by the government, how far did the government go to require SPH to transfer segments of its business which would allow the CLG to be self-funded as far as possible in view of the range of assets owned by the SPH group? And what was the nature of those discussions, and how much did the government push so as to limit the burden on the taxpayer? Thank you.
Minister Josephine Teo.
Mr. Chairman, I will be brief. I covered the amounts that the shareholders voted and agreed to when the restructuring was tabled to the extraordinary general meeting. And the shareholders voted and agreed to an initial injection of 80 million cash and 30 million worth of shares for SPH Media Trust. And in the detailed proposal, they also outlined all of the physical assets that would be transferred. I think it is not a case of how much the government pushes the shareholders. Ultimately, SPH Media Trust is a restructuring of a media business that existed within a listed company. And so, as things go, it is the proposal that is made by the management to the shareholders that must pass muster. And this was the proposal that passed muster. It is a matter of speculation whether the restructuring proposal could have gone through with even higher contribution. And if it hadn't gone through, then this whole restructuring exercise would not have been able to proceed. In which case, then I think we are stuck with an even bigger problem. So I just wanted to put that, in context.
Ms. Tin Pei Ling, would you like to withdraw your amendment?
Thank you, Minister, SMS, MOS, and PARSEC for the very comprehensive reply. I think it's quite clear that the future holds many possibilities. Much needs to be built, a lot of balancing act to do, and a big thanks to all the officers from MCI, all the statutory boards, as well as SNDGG. With that, I beg leave to withdraw my amendment.
Is the honourable member given leave to withdraw her amendment? I think leave of the majority is given. The amendment is withdrawn. The question is that the sum of $1,549,888,000 for head Q stand part of the main estimates. As many as are of that opinion say aye. To the contrary say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. The question is that the sum of $60,645,700 for head Q stand part of the development estimates. As many as are of their opinion say aye. To the contrary say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Order, I propose to take a break now. Order, I suspend the sitting and will take the chair at 4:15 p.m. Order, order.